This video is presented by EA Game Changers. Hey everyone, it's Flak. I recently got hands on Battlefield 5's War in the Pacific expansion, and it really looks like DICE has righted the ship. The maps feel alive, the weapons are punchy, and the vehicles are iconic. It was a great time, and I want to share a few things I noticed during my playtime. So here's a special video showcasing 10 cool details in the new Tides of War content. If you're new to the series, be sure to check out all the other details videos with the link on the screen and in the description. That said, let's kick things off with one of the Pacific's new reinforcements, the American T-34 Calliope tank. Aside from brandishing some 60 M8 rockets, the Sherman in Battlefield 5 isn't just armed for offense. The tank has some impressive defense customizations. Among them are fearsome spikes and wooden planks. The former may just seem like anti-personnel countermeasures, but they're both actually designed to keep magnetic mines from sticking to the tank. What's more, these were actually used. Although their effectiveness is debatable, these customizations did actually see combat. And if you pay close attention to the model in Battlefield 5, the tank also bears a name: Edward Thatch, an alleged alias of the pirate Blackbeard. Number 2 on the list is a small detail you might spot on the ramp of the American LST. Although these were intended to transport vehicles like tanks, many did double duty moving men and war materiel. There are clues to this in Battlefield 5, and if you look close enough, you'll spot hundreds of footprints on the ramp. Now, I love little details like this that help digital places truly feel lived in, and it was a nice touch by DICE in an effort to make you feel like you're in the midst of an actual beach landing. Third are the background battles on Iwo Jima. They say atmosphere is everything in games, and to recreate the feel of an epic scale battle, developers created mock battles in the distance. The illusion breaks down when you get up close and personal with them in spectator mode, but for the average player who can only see them at range, it is a pretty effective trick. It's actually not the first time DICE has employed these kinds of methods in game. You can see paratroopers on Mercury, tanks on Hamada, and airplanes also fly over Iwo Jima. Number 4 is the tiny house. You can find this tucked away in the caves of Iwo Jima by some crates. DICE has a history of sneaking these little structures into Battlefield games, and while their exact purpose remains unknown, they've been previously spotted in Battlefield 1 as well as the Arras map on Battlefield 5. There is a chance they could be tied to the infamous gnome Easter egg, or one yet to be uncovered. The tiny house isn't the only thing hidden in the caves, however. It's rumored that you can also find a combat camera. For our 5th detail, let's take a swim in the waters off the islands on Pacific Storm. Coral reefs dot the map, and they're absolutely teeming with life. You can spot several different types of fish, but if you're lucky, you'll also see some larger aquatic wildlife. Sea turtles glide leisurely below the waves, in sharp contrast to the intense combat on the map. DICE also added everyone's favorite Battlefield animal, a shark. Now, this creature isn't a great white, I actually think it's a black-tip shark, but it is still enough to give you a bit of a shock if you bump into it unexpectedly. When I was in Stockholm to capture for the event, developers hinted there's another creature on the map, but we're tight-lipped. So if you're an avid Easter egg hunter, you might want to spend some time poking around. 6th on the list is the aircraft carrier on the maps. DICE apparently modeled this ship on an American Yorktown-class carrier. The United States built 3 of these during World War II: the lead ship USS Yorktown CV-5, USS Enterprise CV-6, and USS Hornet CV-8. Historically, USS Enterprise assisted during both the battle for the Marshall Islands, on which Pacific Storm is based, and the invasion of Iwo Jima. The other 2 carriers were sunk after some furious combat. Yorktown was torpedoed by a submarine, while Hornet met her end at the hands of Japanese destroyers. Both proved incredibly difficult to sink, so the inclusion of the iconic design in Battlefield 5 definitely adds to the appeal of the game's Pacific expansion. Number 7 might surprise you, just as it did many American servicemen. When DICE finally added the M1 Garand semi-automatic rifle, They also added something for which it was infamous. You can actually get Garand Thumb in Battlefield 5. Garand Thumb happens when the bolt slams forward during an improper reload. There is a slight chance this animation happens every time you reload the gun in game, but if you actually go and slow down the animation, you can see the soldier fails to place his palm on the operating rod handle, something he does in every other reload. That is an incredible detail, and one for which DICE's weapon animators deserve a round of applause. 8th is Mount Suribachi. Iwo Jima on Breakthrough is an intense experience, culminating in a battle at the top of the iconic mountain, which happens to be where one of the most recognizable photos of World War II was taken. DICE was undoubtedly aware of this when developing the map and placed the final objective directly at its peak. This means attacking American forces can actually raise the flag on Mount Suribachi in Battlefield 5, just as US Marines did nearly 75 years ago. So, just another reason to play the objective. 9th is the reload on the M2 flamethrower. This battle pickup in Battlefield 5 replaces one of your default gadgets, and it provides you with some actual firepower. Although quite potent, the M2 isn't totally overpowered, and you do actually have to quote-unquote reload it. As a weapon balance mechanic in Battlefield 5, players swap out the weapon's ignition cylinder after a certain amount of time. To do this, they actually use spare brass to remove the ignition shield and pop out the spent cylinder. A new cylinder is then added and the ignition shield replaced. Historically, the ignition cylinder held 5 incendiary charges before the user would have to swap it out. Just like the real M2, players can trigger an incendiary charge without actually firing the weapon. 10th on the list is a new feature DICE added to Battlefield 5. Players can now inspect their weapons in a match. To do this, simply press I on the keyboard, or hold the Comoros button and press reload on consoles. This feature has been a long time coming to Battlefield 5, but hopefully players will now be able to appreciate their hard-earned weapon skins just a little bit more. And since you made it this far, how about a couple more details in the new Pacific expansion? If you look out to sea, you'll spot several battleships on Iwo Jima and Pacific Storm. If the silhouette seems familiar, it's because they're modeled after the last great battleships to roam the high seas, those of the American Iowa class. The last of these colossal ships saw action in 1991 during the Gulf War, so it's cool to see them come back to life again in Battlefield 5. Meanwhile, on Pacific Storm, earthworks and improvised bunkers dot the map. A skilled squad can use them to create an effective defense, but they're not impenetrable. In fact, if you want to get the drop on enemies, keep an eye out for a trapdoor. These provide a sneaky way to surprise enemies or let you bail out of the bunker in a hurry. Lastly, on the Iwo Jima map, you'll probably come across a crashed C-47. This unfortunate plane bears a rather ominous name, The Last Stop, which is probably true for the craft's last occupants. You can even see the olive drab paint scraped away from the impact, revealing the C-47's original aluminum skin. There's also a battle pickup located in the tail section, if you can find it. That's it for this video on cool details in Battlefield 5. Remember, the first part of the War in the Pacific expansion drops October 31st and is free to all players. You can find more details at battlefield.com. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, share, and subscribe. Tap the bell to get notified of the latest videos, and make sure to leave me a comment below with your favorite detail or something you'd like to see added to Battlefield 5 in the future. Before you go, check out my social media for Battlefield memes and giveaways. The links are in the video description. And as always, thanks for watching.